Pledge for Peace. Oka Nobuko, representing the Hibakusha, will deliver the Pledge for Peace. Pledge for Peace. My 93rd summer has come in my hometown of Nagasaki. Since 76 years ago, the Nagasaki summers that I used to love so much have changed. Even though we were poor during the war, life was enjoyable. However, the atomic bomb took even that away from me. At that time, I was 16 years old and a student at the Osaka First Army Hospital, Osaka Japanese Red Cross Nursing School. The hospital was hit in the bombing of Osaka, so I returned home to Nagasaki in August. In Nagasaki, Japanese Red Cross nurses were being dispatched to army and naval hospitals around Japan and abroad. We nursing students were on standby at home. On August 9th, I was hit by the atomic bomb while at my home in what is today Sumiyoshi-machi, and sustained injuries to the left half of my body from the blast winds of the bomb. 3 days after the bombing, I received a telegram that said, "Show up for aid duty," from the Nagasaki Prefectural branch of the Japanese Red Cross. And I was mobilized to the Shinkozen First Aid Station. I was still only a nursing student, so I aided the victims as I learned by watching from the other nurses and combat medics. One after another, victims of the bombing were carried into the 3-story first aid station, and the second and the third floors filled up very fast. There were so many dead. We would put the bodies on bombers, and 2 women would carry them to the playground, where men would then throw them into the backs of large trucks like they were piling up lumber. Some bodies were carried to the autopsy room. I saw one body that was covered with maggots from the chest to the abdomen, and I nearly ran away. But a combat medic yelled at me, "You call yourself a rescue worker?" which brought me back to my senses, and I powered through. As I tended to the victims without sleep or rest, I began to worry about my father, whose whereabouts I did not know. The injuries that I had on my legs were also infested with maggots, and it felt like my legs were being drilled by gimlets. Bearing this pain, I searched for my father. From early in the morning, I walked unclear paths covered with rubble and the dead bodies of people and horses to search for him at the first aid stations until it got dark, at which point I would return to the Shinkozen first aid station. I did this over and over again. After a week, I finally found my father, who was badly injured at Togitsu National School First Aid Station. Father, you are alive. I searched for you with all the strength I had. I cried as I hugged him. In my search for my father, I saw a man standing dizzily while holding with both hands his entrails which were coming out of his abdomen. I saw a charred person with only one leg leaning against a wall. And I saw a young mother trying to give her baby, whose head had been ripped off, its final suckle of milk. At the Michino First Aid Station, a boy who was carrying his small little brother on his back approached me. He asked, "Can you please buy me a train ticket?" "Where are you going to go?" I asked him. And he mentioned that his father had died and said, "I want to go to Isahaya or Omura to look for my mother." These two boys, younger than me, were looking for their mother, whose whereabouts they did not know. I thought about those little boys while treating the victims, and I got a lump in my throat. In January of this year, the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons entered into force, which was a long-held wish for the atomic bomb survivors. I believe this is due to the small voices of every single person calling out for the abolition of nuclear weapons becoming one large global voice, and the younger generation carrying on our will. Currently, I am requested by colleges to recount my story of the atomic bombing. As long as we Hibakusha are alive, we vow to relay our experiences and to appeal for peace and the abolition of nuclear weapons. Oka Nobuko, Atomic Bomb Survivor Representative, August 9th, 2021.